Today, Jill and I are doing a video on Sway. Sway is an Office 365 program, and it's used to create interactive lessons, presentations, newsletters, or stories. It is a flexible platform that allows the user to embed all sorts of different content and then can be easily shared with other people. Many teachers use Sway as a tool for students to create things and show their learning. But today we want to focus on how teachers, or the benefits of teachers, building Sways as a way to share materials with their students. So how you access Sway is you go to office.com, and you can see that on my screen right now. And Sway is a little green button right here. And when I click on Sway, it will list all of the ones that I have already built. And if you want to make a new one, you just click on New Blank Sway. And what you're starting off with here is, if you think of Sway as a series of index cards. So this first card that pops up when you first build a Sway is actually your title card. So today I'm going to show you how I could build a little Sway on kayaking in the Nashwauk. So I will just click here, and I'm just going to show you really quickly how to do that. And so then I'm thinking, okay, what would I like to have in my Sway? Maybe I want an image. So if I click this plus button right here, it gives me all sorts of options for what I want to put on my next index card. So I'm going to click the image one, and what that gives me, and I love this part of it, but I can actually search Bing for Creative Commons photos, and I could just do kayak if I want to. I can use my own as well, but if I don't have images, maybe I want to use one. Notice the Creative Commons is checked off here, so that means I'm able to use it with, and it will give credit to the person that owns that photo. So I can click on that one, and I just drag it over. And so now I have a title card and an image card. I already have one of these built that I want to show you, so I'm just going to switch over. But while I'm building my Sway, often what I will do, I'm in edit mode right now, but I will click over here on the play button to see what it looks like. It is so flexible that you can change all sorts of things, but I like how that looks so far. So I'll go back into edit mode, and I will add my next card, and perhaps it's going to be a text card, and then I'm going to start with my story. You know, in May, we kayaked the Nashwauk. So then I go back to play again and see how that looks. Maybe I don't like how that's appearing right beside that photo. So I can actually make the photo bigger and put the text underneath. So I have one that I've done and already made, so I can show you one with more cards in it. This one here has what you would call a vertical layout. So I'm just going to hit the play button to show you. So there's my title. So I've got a great big huge photo there. So kayak on the Nashwauk. We put in, I have a typo there, so I can fix that easily. We put in near the cotton mill in Marysville, right behind the Heritage Center. Notice that I have click here for directions. That's a link to the actual map that would get me there into Marysville Place or the Heritage Center. So you can put links in your Sway when you're making them, which is really handy. So I've also just put a little picture of a little screenshot of Google Maps where you would put in, put a little description here. And then in my next index card, this is just a text one, which says, this May, there was plenty of water in the river. And then for my next one, what I did, and I love this little feature, and what it is you can actually do a group of photos in a stack. And so what I did was put 5 or 6 photos in there, and you can scroll through them, or I can even make it bigger if I really want to see those photos. And you can put a text card inside those, and I love what that looks like. The nice thing about Sway as well is it looks good on a mobile device. So for instance, if you were doing this as a lesson with students and you have all of this mixed media that you want to incorporate or pull together or curate to send to them, it's just a really great way to do it. And often students will, access this type of material on their phone, and it looks really good on the phone. And so you'll see here at the end, I put a video in. So I'll go back to my editing mode just so you can see what that looks like. So all of these are just separate index cards. And in the end, I can put a YouTube video in there, and that's actually somebody on the Nashwauk talking about kayaking the river. And I just, put the link to that video in, and then it displays that really, really nicely. One big thing I will say, so two things. When you're building it, it has a lot of little features that you can get hung up on, but my big advice is hit the play button frequently. So it's right here just to see how it behaves when you do something. So that's something I do frequently. And the other thing I would totally advise you to do is to click the design tab here once you have your content added. And if you click on styles right here in the design tab, I prefer vertical, so that when somebody looks at that sway, it's going vertically, not horizontally. It's personal preference for sure. And if you have a reason that you need it to be horizontal, it's easy to change. And you could also even change it to slides if you wanted to. The other thing is when you're ready to put colors in there, or you want a certain theme, you can actually click a theme here, or you can do random themes and just hit a customize and remix it if you want to. So that's things that you can kind of play around with. Some of them are distracting, so just be wary of that. But that's basically all there is to it. It is really, really quick way to get something on the internet that you can share with somebody else. And I'll show you how you can do that. So when you're finished and you've played it and you like it, you can click the share button right here, and you can send this link to anybody, and then they can watch your sway. And the beautiful part about sway in the Office 365 platform is that you can share it with anybody. It doesn't have to be a member of the organization in order for it to work. So if you had a sway you wanted to share with parents or somebody else that's not in the education realm, you can actually do that with this one. And so you could just have a link, and notice here it says invite people to view it. Or if you had a collaboration going on and you wanted two people to work on it together, you can actually give them editing rights to it as well. So if you wanted to even make it tighter, you can put a password on it, just all sorts of different options. But there's the link, and then it's just as easy as sending them that link, and then they're able to access it. So Jill is going to talk about some really, really great ways that you can use it in a literacy classroom.
Okay, so as Wendy mentioned, we often think of Sway as a way for students to share learning or ideas, to create presentations. But I really see Sway as a convenient and easy way to curate collections of materials that we want to share with students, and particularly that we want students to be able to access independently. I have been a user of Padlet for many years, and if you do use Padlet as a bit of a virtual bulletin board to store materials, you'll know that the free version now limits you to 3 boards, and I find that Sway does many of the same things that I was using Padlet for. And as Wendy mentioned, you can also collaborate to create sways. So if you're gathering collections of materials, you can do that with a colleague or a grade level team, and use it that way to organize things that you want to share or to build units or build collections together. So I do love that sharing option as well. So I think one of the first ways to use Sway in a language arts classroom is to gather all of the materials for a single unit. So Wendy is showing you a grade 10 memoir study Sway that I created. And I do want to say that I just used the most basic of the design options to create this and was completely blown away by how good it looked. So it's really easy to make visually appealing collections without a lot of work. I just find they look so professional when you put them together by just clicking on one or two of those preset design options. So at the top of this Sway, I have each of the writing invitations for students' writer's notebook for that day. So if you're having students work on memoir writing and you want them to do a quick write every day so that at the end of a period of time, they can go back and look at writing possibilities to start their own memoir, all I did was create a different card for each day. so that the link is there, the instructions are there, and I also think this would be super convenient for students who might have missed a day as well. And then below this, I've just added all of the memoir mentor text that students would access for mini lessons and then for their independent work time, or maybe getting together to talk about them as a group. But because it's so easy to continue adding different kinds of media, you can just keep adding. If you need to find a different mentor text based on, a revision mini lesson that you end up doing later, you can easily just keep adding to this collection. So I also love the idea that once students have a link, the collection just continues to grow. The second sample that Wendy's going to show you is an example of how you can use Sway to gather all the materials for a multimodal or a multimedia text set based on a theme, or maybe it's an inquiry unit. So for this one, I just organized it by day. And again, each of the days was a separate card. So you can see how easy it was to organize that. And then I have the link to the text that students will read that day. So I think they read 8 or 9 different things. I've also included, you'll notice there are a couple of links there. I think at the top, Wendy, if you go back, I've added a link to a Word document that students would access for the instructions of the final assessment piece. And all I did was create a Word document in OneDrive and then link it. So it's also really easy to put templates or further instructions or things that you might want a student to fill out later. It was really easy just to add that. And in this case, all of the texts that I've included in this text set were available online, so they're just linked. But you could easily add an image, you could embed that, you could add a PDF. So there are so many different types of text you can add as well. So again, a really easy way to just gather everything together in one spot, make it interactive for the students so they can access it every day. And then if you need to change it or add more materials, it's just really easy to just keep building that collection. And I think Wendy's going to talk about something that I didn't know when I made this, which is that you can create templates to make it even easier.
Yes. Do you want me to talk about that now, Jill?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So I saw this man on the internet do this, a teacher, and I just thought this is such a great idea. And what he did was he created his sways and then turned them into templates so that, for instance, if you were doing this is a media multimodal text set, but maybe down the road you're going to do a different multimodal text set with different resources in it. So what he had done was set the lesson up the way he wanted it to look, or this way. And then what he did was clicked on the 3 dots. And let me see if it will let me do it on this one. I might have to go back to the other one just because I'll go back to this one here. There. Okay, just because I was logged into this one. So for instance, if you wanted to use this format as a template, all you would have to do is click the 3 dots and save it as a template. And maybe instead of grade 10, because perhaps you're teaching this to different grades as well, but you're just going to call this, maybe you're just going to call it a study, the template, and then you're just going to save it. And when you go back to your sways, so here are all of my sways, notice it says start from a template. So basically what that's giving you is you don't have to worry about the formatting of it. You don't have to worry about the cards or anything like that. You can just start a new one and use this template with these same predictable pictures and text, titles that you already have, and put your new content right into that, and it would save you a lot of time. So basically, instead of you having to format it every time you make a new one, you're just using that existing formatting that's predictable for students. So I love that feature of Sway, that you can actually spend some time setting it up the way you want and then just reuse that setup for your different material.
I agree. And I think that predictable structure is really a fantastic feature, especially for the next 3 examples. Now that you've seen 2 visuals of what that could look like, I think there are a lot of different ways that you could use Sway as a way to collect material, develop those collections, and then share them with students. And I think being able to develop that template, so you just use the same structure and then add your materials, really makes it easy for you to use, but also easy for your students to use, so because they know exactly what it's going to look like and exactly where they're going to find everything.
Yes.
So I also see Sway as a really fantastic way to keep track of all of the reading strategies or the writing strategies that you cover in mini lessons. So you might have a sway of reading strategies, and each time you present a new strategy in a mini lesson, you could add that to the sway, name the strategy, define the strategy, a few steps of how to use it, and then add all of the artifacts from your mini lesson so students can go back and access that later. So if you're having a conference with a student and you suggest they go back and revisit that mini lesson, everything from your mini lesson could be there. You could have the PowerPoint, if you used one, a screencast. If you annotated a text, that could be there. If you made an anchor chart, you could snap a picture of it and upload it. You can add a PDF of anything you created. So then students can access it on demand, which I love. Similarly, if you have a recurring activity like the article of the week or a text of the week or Motivation Monday or regular quick writes, this is a place where you can store all of those materials and just keep adding to them over time. So both you and your students can go back and find them easily. And then if you create a template, you can really easily recreate that and just swap them out. So if you have a different grade level or if you're making a new one for the next semester, it's really easy just to quickly modify it. And lastly, I think Sway is a really great opportunity to develop collections of resources that you want students to access. So I could really envision creating a Sway for reading inspiration and writing inspiration, for example. So if students didn't know what they wanted to select as their next read, you could send them to the reading inspiration Sway. And you might have the covers of all of the books you've book talked and some book podcasts and maybe some websites where students can find recommendations like We Need Diverse Books or Nerdy Book Club. A writing inspiration Sway could house all of the mentor texts you've used in that semester, so students could go back. You might have some authors' websites, and you could also add materials from the New York Times Learning Network, which is available for free, and they have hundreds of writing prompts, picture prompts, so that if students are having trouble finding their next writing topic, they could spend some time on your writing inspiration Sway as well. So I think it's a really fantastic way to collect materials and keep them all in one place so that you and your students are able to access them in a really organized way and just keep adding to or changing up as needed.